5:59. Oh, a little early. A lot hot. Let me put nice. Ooh. All right. I might be a little early, but we're just gonna start. Today, I have an update about the bee book. Remember the book Kaya and the Bees? Well, the new title is gonna be, see if I can write it real quick. Oh, this is messy. The missing. The new title is gonna be Kaya and the Bees and the Case of the Missing Queen, because the queen is most certainly missing. And that's kind of problematic for a beehive. So we're gonna go next week and see what's happening. We took 2 hives and put them into one, so hopefully the bees will acclimate to that queen. So we shall see. So stay tuned for more Kaya and the Bees and the Case of the Missing Queen. Today, I'm trying to decide between 2 books, and I think I'm gonna read, I know I'm gonna read Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, an African Tale by John Steptoe. And this reading is dedicated to Maddie, who I hear loves these read-alouds, and to her mother Janice for bringing that to my attention. So Maddie, we're gonna act like we're queens, because we are queens. And I'm gonna put my crown on. My little crown on. And we're gonna read Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters. Although we can't find the queen bee, we are the queen, and we're gonna read this book, Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters. This is quite a long book. So, oh, let me put this on. This might be too hot to do all of this, but we queens do queen things. So maybe I'll just keep this on for a second until it gets really too hot to work. Okay, Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, an African Tale by John Steptoe. This book is dedicated to the children of South Africa. I have been to South Africa, so I know I'm pronouncing these names wrong, so just bear with me with that. It's right hot in here with that, so I'm gonna take that off, although the color is beautiful. This is inspired by a folk tale collected by G.M. Thiel, published in 1895 in his book Kafir Folk Tales. Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters. All the illustrations here. Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters by John Steptoe. If you get tired of looking at my face, just close your eyes and just imagine you're in South Africa. Or look at the pictures and dream. A long time ago, in a certain place in Africa, a small village lay across a river and half a day's journey from a city where a great king lived. A man named Mufaro lived in this village with his 2 daughters, who were called Manyara and Nyasa. Everyone agreed that Manyara and Nyasa were very beautiful. Manyara was almost always in a bad temper. She teased her sister whenever their father's back was turned, and she had been heard to say, "Someday, Nyasha, I will be queen, and you will be the servant of the household." "If that should come to pass," Nyasha responded, "I will be pleased to serve you. But why do you say such things? You are clever and strong and beautiful. Why are you so unhappy?" "Because everyone talks about how kind you are. They praise everything you do," Manyara replied. "I'm certain that father loves you best. But when I am queen, everyone will know that your silly kindness is only weakness." Look at the expression on her face too. She doesn't look very happy. Nyasha was sad that Manyara felt that way, but she ignored her sister's words and went about her chores. Nyasha kept a small plot of land in which she grew millet, sunflowers, yams, and vegetables. She always sang as she worked, and some said it was her singing that made her crops more bountiful than anyone else's. One day, Nyasa noticed a small garden snake resting beneath a yam vine. He's in the crook. Good day, little Nyoka. Nyoka, yep, she called to him. You are welcome here. You will keep away any creatures who might spoil my vegetables. She bent forward, gave the little snake a loving pat on the head, and returned to her work. From that day on, Nyoka was always at Nyasha's side when she tended her garden. It was said that she sang all the more sweetly when he was there. See the snake as she's touching? If you're just joining in, I'm reading Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters by John Steptoe and dedicated this reading to Maddie. Mufaro knew nothing of how Manyara treated Nyasa. Nyasa was too considerate of her father's feelings to complain, and Manyara was always careful to behave herself when Mufaro was around. Early one morning, a messenger from the city arrived. The great king wanted a wife. The most worthy and beautiful daughters in the land are invited to appear before the king, and he will choose one to become queen, the messenger proclaimed. That sounds like another book, right? Another book sounds like this book. Another book sounds like this book. Mufaro called Manyara and Nyasa to him. It would be a great honor to have one of you chosen, he said. Prepare yourselves to journey to the city. I will call together all of our friends to make a wedding party. We will leave tomorrow as the sun rises. But my father, Manyara said sweetly, it would be painful for either of us to leave you, even to be wife of the king. I know Nyasha would grieve to death if she were parted from you. I am strong. Send me to the city and let the poor Nyasha be happy here with you. Mufaro beamed with pride. The king has asked for the most worthy and the most beautiful. No, Manyara, I cannot send you alone. Only a king can choose between two such worthy daughters. Both of you must go. I'm reading Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters by John Steptoe, in case you just came into the classroom. Y'all must have been taking a water break or hanging out in the bathroom, because, you know, kids do that. I'm wearing my crown because we're reading about queens. That night, when everyone was asleep, Manyara stole quietly out of the village. Let me try to get the pictures in without my phone falling. Manyara stole quietly out of the village. She had never been in the forest at night before, and she was frightened. But her greed to be the first person to appear before the king drove her on. In her hurry, she almost stumbled over a small boy who suddenly appeared standing in the path. Please, said the boy, I am hungry. Will you give me something to eat? I have brought only enough for myself, Manyara replied. But please, said the boy, I am so very hungry. Out of my way, boy. Tomorrow I will become your queen. How dare you stand in my path? Look at her face. She's looking a little rough, a little angry. This is Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters by John Steptoe. After traveling for what seemed to be a great distance, Manyara came to a small clearing. There, silhouetted against the moonlight, was an old woman seated on a large stone. The old woman spoke. I will give you some advice, Manyara. You like that voice, the old woman voice? Soon after you pass the place where two paths cross, you will see a grove of trees. They will laugh at you. You must not laugh in return. Later, you will meet a man with his head under his arm. You must be polite to him. How do you know my name? How dare you advise your future queen? Stand aside, you ugly old woman, Manyar scolded and then rushed on her way without looking back. I think there's a moral in this story. This page. Just as the old woman had foretold, Manyar came to a grove of trees, and they did indeed seem to be laughing at her. I must be calm, Manyar thought. I will not be frightened. She looked up at the trees and laughed out loud. I laugh at you, trees, she shouted, and she hurried on. It was not yet dawn when Manyara heard the sound of rushing water. The river must be up ahead, she thought. The great city is just on the other side. But there, on the rise, she saw a man with his head tucked under his arm. Manyara ran past him without speaking. A queen acknowledges only those who please her, she said to herself. I will be queen. I will be queen, she chanted as she hurried on toward the city. Yes, everybody loves Mufaro's beautiful daughters. I got a lot of requests to read this book. This is a great book for the times that we're living in. Be kind. All right, stick with me. Here we go. Nyasha woke up at the first light of dawn. As she put on her finest garments. Okay, we're going to put on our finest garments, even though it's like 100 degrees in the house. Put on our finest garments. She thought how her life might be changed forever beyond this day. I'd much prefer to live here, she admitted to herself. I'd hate to leave this village and never see my father or sing to little Nicoya again. And remember, Nicoya was the little snake that she befriended and she would sing to, and then her garden would grow. Her thoughts were interrupted by loud shouts and commotion from the wedding party assembled outside. Manyara was missing. Everyone bustled about, searching and calling for her. When they found her footprints on the path that led to the city, they decided to go ahead as planned. As the wedding party moved through the forest, brightly plumed birds darted about in the cool green shadows beneath the trees. Though anxious about her sister, Nyasha was soon filled with excitement about all that she was going to see. There's the wedding party going out in the woods. Thank y'all for joining the reading. It's really nice to read to folks. They were deep in the forest when she saw the small boy standing by the side of the path. You must be hungry, she said, and handed him a yam she had brought for her own lunch. The boy smiled and disappeared as quietly as he had come. Later, as they were approaching the place where the two paths crossed, the old woman appeared and silently pointed the way to the city. Nyasha thanked her and gave her a small pouch filled with sunflower seeds. Now, so I'm reading Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters by John Septo, and remember, the other sister encountered these same people and was very ugly to them. And so now we have the sister Nyasha who's encountering the boy and the woman, and she's being kind to them. The sun was high in the sky when the party came to the grove of towering trees. Their uppermost branches seemed to bow down to Nyasha as she passed beneath them. And what was happening to the other sister? Remember, the trees were laughing at her, and the lady said not to laugh back. So they're having different experiences. At last, someone announced that they were near their destination. This book takes place in South Africa, and it was inspired by a book called Kafir, which is how you say it, Kafir Folktales in 1895. So this book predates, well, I don't know about that, but this book is one of the oldest folktales. I'm just going to say that. Let me read and stop ad-libbing. Nyasha ran ahead and topped the rise before the others could catch up with her. She stood transfixed at her first sight of the city. "Oh, my father," she called. "A great spirit must stand guard here. Just look at what lies before us. I never in all my life dreamed there could be anything so beautiful." Oh, Mari, thank you. Mari still has her copy. Her mom used to read to her. A lot of people have a lot of really good memories of this book. I think this is a keeper, and this really has a lot of lessons for our current day. I'm so glad that you all are allowing me to read to you. I appreciate that. It's therapy for me, too. Arm in arm, Nyasha and her father descended the hill, crossed the river, and approached the city gate. Just as they entered through the great doors, the air was rent by piercing cries. And when I read this book, I always remember this, like the air was rent by piercing cries, because you don't usually see the word rent or hear the word rent used in that way. So rent just means that it was piercing, that it was like a shrill sound. The air was rent by piercing cries, and Manyara ran wildly out of the chamber at the center of the enclosure. When she saw Nyasha, she fell upon her, sobbing. "Do not go to the king, my sister. Oh, please, father, do not let her go," she cried hysterically. I wish my cousin KK, who was listening, was reading that part, because she's so dramatic. It would be so awesome. "There's a great monster there, a snake with 5 heads. He said he knew all my faults and that I displeased him. He would have swallowed me alive if I had not run. Oh, my sister, please do not go inside that place." It frightened Nyasha to see her sister so upset. Believing her father to comfort Manyara, she bravely made her way to the chamber and opened the door. So what do you think she's going to see? The 5-headed snake and all that stuff? This book has beautiful illustrations. Like, you could just look at the illustrations all day. I'm dedicating this book to Queen Maddie, who is enjoying listening to these read-alouds, and her mother, Janice. And that's why I'm wearing my crown. On the seat of the great chief's stool lay a little garden snake. Nyasha laughed with relief and joy. "My little friend," she exclaimed, "it's such a pleasure to see you, but why are you here?" "I am the king," Nyoka replied. And there, before Nyasha's eyes, the garden snake changed. Ooh, what's he gonna change into? Ooh, it's getting good now. So her sister thought it was saw a 5-headed snake, and Nyasha saw her friend, the garden snake. "I am the king. I'm also the hungry little boy with whom you shared a yam in the forest, and the old woman with whom you made a gift of sunflower seeds. But you know me best as Nyoka. Because I have been all of these, I know you to be the most worthy and most beautiful daughter in the land. It would make me very happy if you would be my wife." This is Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters by John Steptoe, based on a book from 1934 called Kaffir Tales. And so it was that a long time ago, Nyasha agreed to be married. The king's mother and sisters took Nyasha to their house, and the wedding preparations began. The best weavers in the land laid out their finest cloth for wedding garments. Maybe I should do that again, but it's really hot, so maybe I won't. Villagers from all around were invited to the celebration, and a great feast was held. Nyasha prepared the bread for the wedding feast from millet that had been brought from her village. Mufaro proclaimed to all who could hear him that he was the happiest father in the land. for he was blessed with 2 beautiful and worthy daughters, Nyasha, the queen, and Manyara, a servant in the queen's household. The pictures are just gorgeous. I gotta find out who's the illustrator. This was a 1988 Caldecott Honor book and a 1988 King Illustrator Award book. Look at these pictures. She looks so happy. She was kind, and she got rewarded for being kind. Not that marriage is a reward, you know what I'm saying? But she was kind. And people saw her inner beauty. Look at that beautiful picture. And that is Mufaro's beautiful daughters. Let me just tell you that, since I've been saying something about the illustrations for like the last 6 minutes, details of the illustrations were inspired by the ruins of an ancient city found in Zimbabwe and the flora and fauna of that region. The names of the characters are seen from the Shona language. Mufaro means happy man. Nyasha means mercy. This is so awesome. Manyara means ashamed. And Nyoka means snake. The author wishes to thank a bunch of people, Naimimani Mutima Ona Kinwele at the Afro-American Institute and Jill Pinafold of the Zimbabwe Mission for the hopeful assistance and research for this book. This book is dedicated to the children of South Africa. And let me show you the back cover because that's beautiful as well. And again, I'm dedicating this to Maddie and her mom, Janice, who has really given me a lot of inspiration to read these books out loud to you all. I love reading books out loud. Here comes the history PE teacher who went for a food run because we are eating out today for the first time in like a long time. I love reading these books out loud, so continue to like hang with me and give me suggestions. And I hope it just gives you a little bit of a break to just think about something else and just hear like a fantastic story. Stay tuned. Kaya and the Bees has a new title, Kaya and the Bees, in the case of the missing queen, because our queen is missing. Queen is missing at the Beehive. So we are working on that. I'm going to include that in the story. Someone already pre-ordered this book. Isn't that cool? So feel free to pre-order this book that I wrote literally last week in like an hour. But it's so good. And it's true. And it's about a local phenom in our community. So thank y'all. I will be reading again on Wednesday at 6 and again on Friday at 6, and also a YouTube channel, Dr. Holly Please Read to Me book. And I have a whole video about bees coming up on Monday on Facebook. All right, thank you, Tony, Jamil, Mari, KK, and everybody else, Janice, Maddie, and everybody else who has tuned in. Such a pleasure. I appreciate y'all.